anyways, and blah, blah. And so eventually, guess who went down there with us? Miss Sonia Williams Barnes, state representative, went down there and they took that.
They were happy to take it in. She does have a uses.
Oh, so it was great. It was really great. We got that done for her. But it's like I even tried talking to Senator Youngkin and saying, how can we make sure that this doesn't happen again? And I told them, I said, how come online it doesn't state what you need to be able to register property or to register your vehicle?
Right.
They're like, oh, we don't run the website. That's not our website. Oh, so they're just tax assessor's office, David B. Rosa, so that's just fake, like who runs it, And I was like, how come your information is not posted on your wall or something so people can know what they need? How do you guys, they're like, well, they can call up here or they can come up here and check. I was like, oh, so then if somebody comes up here and checks and then they don't have everything you need, you can send them back and they can come back here again. And wait these long ass lines, you know what I'm saying? Like, it doesn't make no sense to me.
I apologize, folks, who's watching. We'll be live in 1 second.
Or two.
Because I'm really nervous. I don't do live stuff. I do like, music video and stuff like that. It's just this. Okay. I've never done this in a long time.
This is the initial one, so this is open. I'm trying to find.
She's trying to find. We'll never find.
Okay.
Are we live?
Yes, we are live.
Oh, we're sitting here live and oh.
See.
All right, how y'all doing?
Okay. They normally don't.
She don't keep moving this purse no matter what I do.
There, you can have my purse.
Hi.
I am done with my purse.
Hey, Facebook friends. Welcome to Free Zone.
Okay.
And hi. I'm not good at setting up. So.
That's because you have a narrow view. You will learn one day that you're supposed to have it on wide, like sideways for wide.
Yeah, then it looks like it turns it sideways.
Yes.
Like sideways video.
So,
Greetings.
I apologize, everyone.
Right.
Technical issues.
Call Petra. Technical issue.
So, anyway, don't call Petra.
Yes.
I wanted to say this is a new concept that this is a minority network sort of campaign. It's a new concept that we are going to be doing podcasts, live Facebook, and live YouTube at the same time. So plus T. Nathan will be doing his live on broadcast on his own personal Facebook feed. So I wanted to thank the Campaign for Southern Equality for giving the grant money to host this. We are in the process of getting new equipment, and we'll move on. I will start with Melinda. Introduce herself to Nathan, then I'll go.
Hello, everybody. My name is Melinda Medina. I'm a community organizer for the Mississippi Immigrants' Rights Alliance, as we all know here on the coast, MIRA. I'm originally from South Texas, actually Mission, Texas. And so I hope to, hope everybody gets, I'm just happy to be here.
And my name is T. Nathan Fairley. I am multi-purpose, multitask activist, political strategist, business owner, and I'm glad to be here. I was glad Petra invited me to be part of this, and we can get out some relevant issues out there to people. Thank you, Patrick, for inviting me.
Yeah, you're welcome. Appreciate you being here. We are going to talk about different topics and how they affect the minority communities. There might be guest co-speakers with us. So if somebody can't make it, we might have replacements. So if you are interested in speaking, we are more than welcome. Just message one of us. We do have a Facebook page under Free Zone With, which T. Nathan came up with the idea. He did not like my initial idea. He outvoted both of us. So that shows you
Who's in control?
who's in control.
Right here, right here.
Yeah. So I wanted to thank both of you for coming. I was trying to get an all-round mental image, because we all don't have the same views on the same issues. So this is a way for me as a transgender woman on the Mississippi Gulf Coast to listen to other cultures and to see where they're coming from. Because I feel like a issue within the United States at this point in time is people don't stop and listen. They want to jump the gun and defend themselves before they have finished hearing the other person. And so this is going to be a controversial thing. We will be talking about Donald Trump. We are not going to be bashing Donald Trump, but we will talk about how issues relate to Donald Trump. So there will be also positive news about local events coming on. That I heard something about like a cultural fair coming up here. I just heard about one in Pascagoula the other day. I am a USM student leader. I currently am the vice president of the Women and Gender Study for USM. I am the president of the Alliance for Equality currently. I will be stepping down from that on the 6th coming up due to other activities. I do not join projects that I don't believe I could give 150% into. I don't feel it's right, and I feel that it's unfair to the people involved in those organizations. So I have asked everybody to come up with topics to discuss today. We are going to go from 6 p.m. to 7 p.m., and the topics will vary. Generally, I will have the Facebook Live where I can see the questions. If you would like to message a question, please go to T. Nathan's Facebook feed because we can see his currently at this moment. It was short timing. There was a lot going on today, and I apologize. But in 2 weeks, when it comes up again, when we do our next episode, we will have Facebook Live feed where we can read it live on the screen as we progress. So,
just want the podcast. When will the podcast be available, and how can they get it?
The podcast I am planning on putting up by Friday. The podcast will be live on Friday. That will be Free Zone With. Also, I will post a link to the Facebook page as soon as the podcast is live. The YouTube link is already posted to the Facebook page. So, YouTube Live, Facebook Live, and podcast. So if I could get podcast to go live, we will be doing podcast live also, because I believe live is the best way to do it. So that's the most authentic way. So, anyways, who would like to go first?
You can't hear Melinda well? Melinda, you have to speak up. Can't hear you well.
Okay.
I'll move it down so we can make sure Melinda gets heard well. Okay?
All right.
We are learning the lighting and the hearing. So, okay. T. Nathan is adjusting the. Sorry, folks, for the technical issues at this moment. All I see is his wall with his face. Turn it. No, all I see. Actually, reversed it.
Okay.
There you go. Okay. So other way. No, I can't see one of them. Right there. I can't.
Can you see the right chair?
No.
No, you're still not visible.
But you can sit wrong. Okay.
What about now? I'm still seeing the side.
Yeah. Well, I can't hear you or I can't see you.
All right.
That's good.
That's good.
Okay. So today, would you like to go first, Amanda?
Sure, I can go first. Okay, so I have a story today on Juan Manuel Montes, who is 23 years old, and he is a dreamer. I'm not sure if anybody knows, if everybody knows what a dreamer is, so I'm going to explain a little bit of who dreamers are. So dreamers are undocumented immigrants who came into the country as little children with their parents and came into our education system, learned language, learned in our education system and our schools, graduated, but during the process of graduation, got enrolled for colleges and things like that. They find out that they're undocumented because they don't have a social security number. They can't apply for any federal grants. They can't apply for any scholarships. So, and they can't even work, right? So they come here as little kids, they grow up, and then they realize they're not American like they thought they were, right? So, basically, that's what Dreamer is. So they organize themselves, and former President Barack Obama created something called the DACA program, which is Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals. And under the DACA program, you can be, they give you protected stay for 2 years. You have to re-enroll every 2 years. So it's not a legal status, it's just protection from deportation. Well, when Juan Manuel Montes, on February 18th, was sitting outside of a restaurant in Calexico, California, I'm hoping I said that right, right by the border, and he was waiting outside for his ride, and a border control agent pulled up on him, found out he was undocumented, and took him into custody and they deported him. But apparently there is no record of this deportation. The Justice Department does not have a record of the deportation, and so they have a judge involved. His name is the Judge Curiel. I'm sorry, that's his last name, but he was the judge that was actually investigating or oversaw the lawsuits against Trump University. He was the actual judge that Trump called a hater, because he was from Mexico, but the judge was actually born in the States. He was born in Indiana, right? Okay, so so this is a very interesting case. Juan Manuel Montes is in Mexico. He's staying with relatives and he's okay, but he was illegally deported because this DACA, the DACA program he's enrolled in, protects him from deportation. So our government violated his rights, his constitutional rights, and violated the trust that he had with them, which was a protected stay.
So the violation occurred in accordance with the DACA, what is it called?
The DACA program?
The DACA program. So the DACA program is in place as a protectionary clause for every 2 years. How close was he to the end of those 2 years before he was arrested at this time? Do you know?
I'm not really sure how close he was to having to renew for the program. But I know that he had already been approved for his second round, right? For another 2 more years.
And where's his database maintained? Because the Border Patrol couldn't pull up the database and find his name in it or anything. Was it?
Right. So that's USCIS, right? And so the Department of Homeland Security. So they're supposed to have all this information, but apparently there's not even no record of his deportation.
So it's not a record even on
not even detention, like not even that he was detained, nothing. So the judge is asking that he be brought back under a probationary period so that he can hear, one side of the story and what happened, because there is no evidence. So it's a really, really interesting case.
How common do you think these cases are, where people are being deported without any documentation under our current administration?
I don't know how many cases there is, but I'm pretty sure. I know that there's a lot of cases. We also have veterans who have been deported, right?
That have served.
Have served our country, and so it's really the system is really, really tricky. It's hard to get around, and it's actually the way things are now. It's worse, right? Especially with this political environment, it's worse. And so we see a lot of injustices happening with the undocumented community. We have raids that come. They're taken out of their homes in the middle of the night.
Right.
Sometimes.
I want to back up on this whole situation though. My first issue with this is, was he doing anything criminal outside the restaurant?
Absolutely not.
So why, if I'm sitting outside of McDonald's, am I to be expected to show my citizenship papers? I have an issue with this constitutional-wise because we live in a society where we are expected to follow the laws. The laws are there for a reason. At what point in time, what law is there that says that we must carry our immigration papers on us at all times? I mean, I don't know. I don't deal with the immigration law. I don't know. I work in the legal field. I don't know the immigration law that well. I'm starting to go into that area. I mean, I know about the Dreamers Act. I know about all this. I have a friend a good friend, that is part of the Dreamers Act.
Mm-hmm.
And I have talked to him about it. And a lot of people don't realize when they say go get your citizenship, they don't realize that citizenship costs at least $10,000.
Absolutely.
I am beyond perturbed at this particular situation due to the fact there is a gentleman sitting outside a restaurant. He gets pulled over and questioned for sitting outside of a restaurant. Where are we living?
Well, it's similar to the stop and frisk situation that happened, because I'm listening on the site. There is no evidence of wrongdoing, so it was just happened to be an ICE agent who was walking by or driving by, and you're saying, but basically because of the color of your skin,
Yes.
that I am going to ask you and request this information from you. So we are winding right back up that point where people of color are being victimized for no other reason than the color of their
A few
skin.
years ago, North Carolina, not North Carolina, I'm sorry, folks, Louisiana, New Orleans, Louisiana, had a lawsuit, I believe it was by the ACLU, because they were arresting transgender women, colored transgender women, and charging them with prostitution for walking down the sidewalk.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
I mean, the statistic-wise, they had the percentage of arrests for transgender colored African American or Hispanic. I'm gonna even get off this. Non-white. I'm just gonna make it clear. If they were non-white, they were transgender. They were arrested for prostitution for walking down the sidewalk, and they were sued in federal court. I just don't get where we are in America that because we don't like you, we arrest you.
Well, I mean, I hate to break it to you all, and I feel your situation, but people of color have always done that. It has never been. I mean, maybe that's the benefit of not being a person of color in this country. But in this country, even when you told my tail on my stoplight, and that light that day at night, and even I, knowing I was not doing anything illegal, and I just came to the city council meeting, and it's still that apprehension that I need to get this fixed as soon as possible, because any time I'm pulled over could become an incident.
Yes.
And we have lived under that. I mean, it's getting highlighted now, but this is not something new to us. It's like being a person of color in this country, we have consistently been under attack. This young man, like I say, he was in the dream, and even under the protections of the law of the program, he was deported. So we are reaching a boiling point in this country over these issues because we are the country.
Are we hitting a boiling point because, and I hate to say it like this because this word just, I don't know, it's not the white privilege. I admit that, I grew up with white privilege, okay? I still got privilege, even as a trans woman. I know the police officers, local police officers. I know, people throughout the local area, legal-wise. The thing is, what I would get pulled over for and not a ticket for, because I just, I hate to say it like that, versus what somebody else is, is that, are we just opening our eyes to that privilege? Because I never understood. Like when I first heard about it, when it first started coming out, I fought the privilege thing. I was like, what privilege? I used to be harassed by cops growing up, but of course I hung out with drug dealers. And they knew that we were. So of course we're going to be harassed. But when you stop and think about it, with somebody else, and this was before I was transitioning, folks, would somebody else of a different race be harassed more often than me? Yeah, they never would have suspected me if they didn't know what I was doing.
And it's the predisposition of the way we're training, the perception, the background perception. Like I say, one of the things that I say, part of your privilege as a Caucasian is not to think about you're a Caucasian. Every day, every morning, as a color purple, as a person of color going out into the community, it's something that we think about. It's constant. It's like when you're in a store and you have enough money to buy the store for your life, but you're followed around and you're watching non-people of color are ripping them off left and right, but you're the one they're watching because our society has a certain inbred institutionalization of racism that is embedded even passively against
Let me
people of
ask
color.
you. Let me ask you a question because, and this brings up a good point. You know, I grew up with Edith Patterson. She was African American. She was my babysitter, and you know, and I don't know where it came from, but you know, I don't know if it was me being angry at myself. But when I lived in North Carolina and I was helping the security there, you know, I would target theft people. You know, and I'd either target meth smoking people or I would target, you know, I would profile. You know, you profile. We do
Right.
this, okay? And now that I'm beyond those years, beyond what I don't even want to talk about it, but beyond that experience, you know, because I had a conversation yesterday where the person says racism isn't taught, it's within because she, as a white woman, grew up in a racist house in Mississippi, a KKK. And she is completely accepting. I mean, I just met her yesterday. She's completely accepting of LGBT. She completely accepts the Hispanics, African American. She's one of the most. I mean, she's a great person. She attends USM, and she made a statement. She goes, "Racism is not always taught because if she was taught, if that was true, she'd be racist. She was raised in a racist house."
No, that just means she wasn't a good student. Yeah, she's one of
I mean,
the
because
students.
that is one of the
Yeah.
situations, and that's
Yeah, but you meet plenty of people that come from racist environments, and they may not be overtly racist, but there's still something to be said for a certain indoctrination that occurs. I mean, I'm not saying
Sure.
she's not a great person,
Yeah.
but I remember being in the military, and we were pulling guard duty on some newbies, right? And this guy from Tennessee watched me the whole night walk around on guard duty
Wow.
and while the others slept. And I just watched him watch me. And then I just said, why are you watching me? And he's like towering and all. And then he tells me, basically comes out and tells me after the conversation, he asked me, is it true? Do I have a tail? This is in the 80s. I'm not going to say what part of the 80s,
Yeah.
because I'm going to tell you how old I am. But this was in the 80s. And this young 18-year-old from Tennessee asked me, did I have a tail? Because he was raised thinking that people of color had tails. Because his grandfather had told him that. So we had tails. He come from the mountains of Tennessee and he was down, and his grandfather had told him that. So I'm saying,
So he truly believed this.
he truly believed.
This is like I just read the
people of color in the unit and was associated with had tails.
Well, I just read the article about Dylan, whatever, psychotic dude.
Yeah, I'm not calling his name.
Hey, I don't even want to go there. But anyway, he sat there and said, I read an article. They just did a biography on him. They interviewed his wife, his mom, his dad, everybody. And he said the reason he believed he had to do what he did was because all African American men were raping white women. That was one of his excuses. That's what he was taught. I mean, do people really believe this?
Look at 45 when he said about Hispanics and Mexicans when we wanted to build a wall. You know, it says all these horrible things, and then some. It seems like that's his phrase. Also, some of them are good people. And he said some of them are good people.
People lying in
And
pockets.
not looking at the statistics that actually crime is disproportionately lower in the immigration community than it is in the the national community because of some factor that they're not taking into account. But when we hear these crime rates and we say these things, we act like it's a disproportionate figure, but it's a disproportionate figure as in the number of crimes that don't occur in the immigrant community or immigrants are not part of. But we don't get those. We get we below, and some of it's the media. And some of it is, feeding into, we can have 1,600 good people of color doing the right thing and everything, and we have one murder, and all of a sudden, all you're going to hear for 7 nights straight is about that one murder.
That's true.
And we are not demanding more of our society. It was just like the incident in Charlottesville, you know. And I tell people, and I still say they're neo-Nazis. They're not neo-Nazis. They're Nazis. In case you missed it, white supremacists or Nazis. If you support white supremacist agenda, you're a Nazi. I said it now. And if you don't stand up against that, it makes you a Nazi too, because of the fact that you can't be passive in this day.
I agree.
Absolutely.
I agree.
You can't sit back and say it's somebody else's problem.
I just made a post about that.
We are a society that is a melting pot from the beginning. That's what things that it talks about history. We talk about this heritage of hate here. And people say, well, it's our heritage to fly this flag that didn't even become prevalent. It's in 1911, by the way. But it didn't even become prevalent. But we were a country founded on a melting pot, cooked all over Europe.
Well, let's go back to that. I just watched a video on Facebook where I forgot exactly where it was, but there was this Hispanic family outside a park, and there's a white woman in front of this car demanding to see their citizenship papers, and they're under citizens' arrest.
Yeah.
I mean, she's like pounding on the front of their car, and I stopped and I wanted to laugh. In all honesty, I was like, this woman is loco. Okay, she's a loco. Okay, and I'm like, stop. And I thought about it. I said, the problem right now in society, because I like the lack of stupidity. But the problem with lack of stupidity is that I'm encouraging that stupidity. So I realized, and I said, stop. If somebody were to do that to my car, or if somebody were to do that to your car, you know, they were patient. I give them props. Like, this family sat there and says, we don't do nothing. We just trying to drive.
Right.
They legitimately were peaceful. I would have put it in drive, and I would have drove over this.
They weren't patient. They were being intimidated.
Yeah, and that's true.
And they were fearful because if that family was undocumented, if they had undocumented people sitting in that vehicle, they're not gonna call them or be like, or go up against her, or like me, I got in my car and be like, what, you know?
Yeah.
You know, like,
yeah, teenager, I'm like, put me on speakerphone. Like, what? Right.
right.
I need you to bail me out.
So yeah, they were like, hey, we didn't do anything. They put, you know, they're gonna put, hey, run to fight because they were scared. They were being intimidated.
I didn't even think of that.
Yes, absolutely.
And
I
I hate to say it, but that is one of the issues that you don't have to deal with.
That is. That's true.
And that's what privilege is about. That in those situations, you can get out the car and you can be all over your face and you don't even worry about it because you're in the right.
Yeah.
And people have, you know,
And to be honest, not to interrupt you, I apologize, but even people, Hispanics that have their citizenship, with the way that, you know, with, I forgot his name, was straight out of the Dreamers Act that was protected.
Yeah.
You know, he was law-abiding citizen.
There is no protection. Let's get rid of that illusion.
Right.
That there is
I'm
active
sitting here, I'm like
protection
stunned.
besides the people.
I mean,
a piece of paper is just a piece of paper. The Dreamers Act, I applaud the effort, but at the end of the day, who enforces it? Not just ICE, but the people of the country. If you don't stand up to something that's wrong and help, then these things won't happen. This man is lost in the system because we are not doing anything about it.
Let me ask you.
So I just want to say something real quick.
Yes.
What you just said about being a piece of paper and it's really not protection, because you're absolutely right. Any day, President number 45 can actually say this program is over with.
That's it.
And we are going to deport 800,000 undocumented immigrants who are under this program.
Executive order.
That pay taxes.
Yeah.
That contribute back to our society.
I need to interject here real quick.
Yeah.
Okay, under the Dreamers Act, you were talking about how they don't get grants, because I know personally what my friend has dealt with under this act, okay? I keep hearing people say, well, they get food stamps, they get this, they get free education, they get all this stuff. What do they get?
They get nothing, because if you do not have, so they have a social security number with the DACA,
Okay.
but they cannot qualify for federal benefits. They don't qualify for federal benefits.
So they can't get Pell Grant,
No,
they can't get food stamps,
They can't get food stamps.
they can't get any of the benefits that the rest of us that pay taxes
They
get.
can't even get
Can they get a tax refund?
insurance. They can't get a tax refund because they pay taxes.
So they can't get a tax refund.
Yes, because they're authorized to work and they're
Okay.
authorized to continue their education.
Okay, so because I want to get that clear because that is part of.
All
But you see-
undocumented immigrants have the opportunity to pay federal and state taxes because they are able to qualify, they are able to register for an ITIN number, which is individual
Okay.
tax identification number, and that's how they do their taxes.
And listen to what we're saying though. We're saying that we're paying taxes, which is the taxation without representation.
Yes.
They're paying taxes into the systems we use for the citizens, and they're not even being provided with the services that a citizen will be provided with.
You're absolutely right.
We're paying taxes. I'm sorry, whatever you feel, once you get my money, and you have to represent me. So what do you believe is a solution to this problem?
That's right.
How do we address this problem? Because my way of addressing it is 1773 way. But now, what is the way to address? How do we get together? And what about the issues on the coast? What is the coast going through? You
So,
were relating a story to me earlier.
Yes, I want to relate another story to you that is just like this one, because just like Juan Manuel Montes was sitting outside of a restaurant, I'm not going to say any names or to protect the family, but about 4 months ago, there was a man and his boss sitting outside of a hardware store. Border Patrol, they were waiting for the store to open. Border Patrol rolled up on them and asked them for their documents. The boss, of course, is a citizen, and the worker was not.
Border Patrol, where that was here?
Here.
Border Patrol here.
Border
Patrol
Patrol
was
exists
here.
on the coast.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to get
Well,
you to
actually,
understand that.
I get, yeah.
Border
'cause-
Patrol with no border with anybody except Alabama and Louisiana. So the Border Patrol rolls up
Right.
like this is not. So we have to accept that this is not an accident. This is
Oh, no,
this is
this
by
is-
design.
Let me tell you,
Right.
my cousin that lives in Texas, like, they have told me we have more Border Patrol in Mississippi than they got in Texas.
I believe that.
And
Well, I mean, they're here actually because of the ports, So, but this man
yeah,
has
we are in a
5
foreign country.
U.S. citizen children
That's right.
and a wife.
okay,
You're so right.
10, five children,
Right.
citizens, and a wife.
Okay, who is also undocumented.
Right.
So he right now is fighting his case. He doesn't have an attorney because he can't afford an attorney,
Mm-hmm.
and one will not be appointed to him
Because he's not covered under the Constitution.
No. Because they don't have that right in
because
in
he's not
immigration
covered.
So he's
court.
not a citizen.
So because it's a civil thing. It's like
civil.
yes, it's a civil
Immigration.
So he's not in jail then.
Right, he's in a detention center.
Yeah, jail.
So,
Yeah.
So
So we don't put debtors in debtor prison over a civil suit. So why is he in jail?
I was just gonna say thank you,
Because he violated federal law.
Yeah.
but
It's a
it's
civil matter, which is still
But does he have a bond then?
he does have a bond.
He does have a bond.
He cannot get a bail bondman, right? Because
So
how
he's not a
much?
citizen.
How much is the bond?
So it's catch
15,000.
22. We're gonna start
Is-
a fund, a GoFund.
Yeah.
That's what we're gonna do.
Okay, that I agree with that.
We're
We're gonna do that after this. We're starting to go
to
fund
do
this.
something.
Okay, the question is it 10% of the 15,000?
no, he has to pay the whole 50,000 or for him to get a bond and fight his case out of the detention center.
So what is his family doing now?
They had to move out of the apartment they were living in because she couldn't afford to pay for it. So she's now in another home with another family that has children as well and her 5 children. Okay. So it's really hard for her that she's struggling. And school just started, right?
Yeah.
And she got 5 children.
Well, not to mention a whole other family living with them.
Right, and then they took their,
Oh, that's
he was the
not
breadwinner,
good.
right? So they took him out. So right now he's fighting this case inside detention, and it's really sad that these children are without their father.
I have a question here. Elizabeth wants to know, can he get sponsors? What about sponsors? People willing to take them in and help? If
That's a good idea.
Is that possible?
Sponsors willing to help them to take him in. I'm sorry.
She says we need people willing to sponsor. Can that not be done?
Sponsorship.
We finally got
Give them a place to live.
Yeah. What can we do? Because
Yeah.
we're looking at the system. What can we as a society or people that care? What is the most direct impact we could have on not just this case, because I understand what that takes, but the families that are affected by this? Because we were talking about these are the children of U.S. citizens.
Right.
because they were born here.
They're born.
And you have, I mean, I don't even understand the mentality of letting children that were born here not have parents. I don't, that's a whole different issue. But what can we do to help reach out to these people? And, you know, as a community, what can we do?
As a community, what we can do is we can help to protect, right?
Right.
So helping to protect means call me if you see a border patrol agent pulling somebody over. Call me or let me or know what's going on, so that we can let others in the
Do
community.
you have a public cell phone, like a cell phone that is open, that you could give out public, like not a private number? I mean, or is there certain people with your number? I mean, how do you want to, like, if I want to get a hold of, if I see Border Patrol on I-10 like I always do, and they have a person pulled over from Texas like they always do, because you do at each end of the state, I don't know if you know this, there's cameras.
Right.
And they register, every plate that comes into the state is registered. And that's how they're popping these drug dealers.
Probably got some speeding tickets coming my way.
And so I wanted to ask, because if somebody needs that help, how are they supposed to get a hold of it?
Okay, so we do have the office number, which is wired directly to my cell phone. It's wired directly to my cell phone,
Okay.
which is 228-386-5164, extension 4. And I'm going to give out my number publicly because it's already all over Facebook.
Are you okay with that?
I'm fine with that.
Okay.
So it's 228-679-9173. Okay, and
Look, you all just got her number before I even got her number. What is up?
and
She's
so
fine.
you, I mean, because this is very serious to me, and I
Yes,
also
I
you know,
agree.
but I need help building a rapid response team because it's just me. I need volunteers who I can call and be like, look, it just called me. They have somebody pulled over on Interstate 10. It's a Hispanic family. Can you please go check that out?
Yeah.
And make sure that
I actually
the
like that
process
idea.
is being, it's
A coalition.
right, absolutely,
Yeah.
and the procedure is being done correctly in the right way.
Yeah.
Because let me tell you, I'm gonna also share a personal story.
Yeah, that's about that.
Coming from Alabama about 3 summers ago, we were actually pulled over, me and my family, and I knew this officer was going to pull me over because he racially profiled me. Because he looked into my vehicle, he was on the right-hand side, and he looked into my vehicle, saw me and my family walk around,
Mm-hmm.
and then pulled up behind us, pulled us over, walked over to my partner's side, and said, "Where are your papers? Are you a U.S. citizen?" Didn't he? You know,
Was he Border Patrol?
no, he was
Did he say at least go to those, your light is out and I pulled you over for the light?
Right.
Probable
Did he
cause?
Did not.
No probable cause.
No. So I was
Now you know how
following.
we feel, huh?
So I was following my brother-in-law, my sister were in the vehicle in front of us,
Okay.
and they pulled over as well, right? So I was actually driving my sister's vehicle at the time. So he asked us for all these things, and he said, I told him, I was like, that's my family over there from too, and he had to answer and tell him, no, I don't have any papers, I'm not, So our kids are in the back seat, we're all nervous. We're like, and we're nervous for him because, that's my partner, that's my father, like what's going to happen to him? Are they going to take him? So they go over there. So he goes over there to my brother-in-law's vehicle where my sister's at, and my mother and my other son. And he says, are there any illegals in here? And all my family there was are U.S. citizens, right? So it's like, so you pull us over because you saw the color of our skin, and then you just so happen to actually pull over a car that actually did have one undocumented parent in the vehicle. And I believe that the only reason why he didn't call, because he said, I can call ICE, I can call Border Patrol, I can call. And I said, yes, I know you can. So I believe that because he looked in the back of the vehicle and saw the children, that I want to say that's why he had a heart, but
Yeah,
still,
he had compassion.
he wanted to antagonize us.
Yeah,
I'm asking, I still have a problem with this.
Right.
Oh, I do too.
The problem is, number one, what was the initial reason for pulling you over except the color of your skin?
That was the reason.
I'm sorry, he said that.
Yeah.
I was following the truck in front of me closing, and I said, that's my brother-in-law. I was following him to get home. I don't travel to Mobile often. I don't travel to Alabama often. I was just,
So what? It's like, oh, you're following too closely now. It's like you are 3 miles back. That's a little too close. I mean, what is that? It's not probable cause.
No.
I don't see that as probable cause.
I don't either.
To pull you over.
It's
And
not.
then
especially looking at the vehicle.
and then he didn't even say that.
Right.
He didn't say you would cut. He comes through and say, "Oh, you
Does
go
that
back
first.
to sister."
So you were he was in the right hand lane, you were in the left hand lane.
Yes.
And he came up next to you and looked over, and let me tell you a true story. And I really feel bad about this. I really do, because of, especially with the light of the situation we have. I was going to my mother's house in Alabama. I had my crotch rocket, and of course I did what I normally do. I was doing 120 miles an hour. And so I sit there and I'm driving down Interstate 65, heading north of Mobile, towards Foley area, and I'm hustling. And all of a sudden, here's this state trooper going opposite direction, and I see him pull a U-turn. I'm like, am I going to hit it, or am I going to stop? I'm making a decision because I know that he's coming. So I happened to stop by this van. Like, I was coming up on this van, and I saw the cop, and I was like, well, maybe he'll pull the van over instead. And it was a van full of Hispanics. Do you know that I took off? I started doing about 160 at this point in time. He still pulled that van over?
Yeah.
He's still.
Is there somebody surprised out here by this besides
I mean, I was like.
Or is anybody surprised? I'm not surprised by it.
I was,
see, that's the whole issue. Are you surprised by it?
No.
The brown people are saying I'm not even surprised by it. Okay?
I was like,
because you could have been a serial killer.
Yeah.
And leaving a scene of a crime. If you just so happen to pull by a car loaded with people of color and a tail light is out. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead, we got this. And that's what it is.
I was doing a buck 20.
Yeah.
I was doing double over speed. I was hustling because, I used to race to Alabama.
Not surprised.
And I was like, at the time, like I said, it did bother me. And the more and more I do this, the more I've always said to stop and look in the mirror at your actions. So like I said the other day on my live video, my own broadcast that I do, if you treat a white person like this, let's say I'm walking down the sidewalk and there's a white male coming for me. And I don't think about him attacking me. I don't think about him raping me. But if I'm walking down that same sidewalk and there's an African American man coming towards me and I am worried about him raping me, him murdering me, there's an issue. Because my own personal judgment of that skin color is what's affecting this situation.
Yeah, but let me say this. And I'm going to say this, and I can say this, right? And I'm saying this is for women. There's too much happening out there. Sometimes you don't need to apologize for your perceptions. It depends on the neighborhood you're in. It depends on what's going on. Yes, that does. But be safe. Be safe. But I also think about it because women are the victim of more crime and especially of sexual nature than men. And I hate to break this, but most of the time it's people that look like you are your perpetrators. Yeah. So I feel that. I feel you, Patrick, but I say be safe in general. So I just want to get that in, and then we can go back to
what I'm saying,
the racial profiling angle.
The racial and that's what I'm saying. The racial profiling, because like I said, if you treat somebody different because they are a different skin color than you would that other race, like your own race or whatever, there's an issue with it. Yeah. That's what racism is.
Yeah.
That's profiling.
It's profiling, but racism is, we deal with, the definition of it because I've had someone accuse me of being a black racist. And I'll be like, you understand in this country that's not even possible by the definition of the word because systemically, it's not the same situations do not exist. Most of the people get prejudice and racism mixed up. Racism is the institutionalized treatment of people of color by it's not even the majority anymore, but they think they are. But by the laws, from profiling, the benefits, these are systemic things in our society that no man of color or woman of color can perpetrate on you. We can't be racist against you because we don't own the institutions that have. You don't
own the institutions to
be racist, right? All we're doing is actually reacting, and we reacting reacting in different ways. It was like in Charlottesville when we say both sides were to blame. I'm gonna tell you, and this is me, and I guess it's live now. We're putting it out there. But if a neo-Nazi shows up in my backyard, we have nothing to talk about.
That's true.
And if I show up in one of their backyards, I'm not coming there to have a discussion.
That's a good
So
point.
if you are trying to, Malcolm made I put it on my quote today, when Malcolm talks about the fact that if you have a noose coming at me and I wind up choking you with it, I'm not even the perpetrator of that violence. That is called self-defense. That is not a racial act of racism. That is self-defense. A lot of the issues that these good people are getting off on, talking about there's violence on both sides.
Mm-hmm.
If you slap me, I'm sorry. Martin, I love him to death. I think he was a good leader and everything, but I'm not turning the other cheek. And that's where we are at this society. We have systematically
So are you more
learned-
Malcolm X? I mean,
I'm more 2017 T. Nathan because of the event that these issues in the past were for a generation of that time. You know,
That's true.
There's nothing
That
like
is true.
there's nothing like looking at the grainy black and white footage of the Selma with the cops beating people of color. That did draw worldwide attention.
yeah,
But now we live at a point where in our news cycles, a beating of a man of color is just an expectation.
that's true.
And so
You're right.
now we have to get to the point where you're not coming in my house and disrespecting me in my house. And if I have to intimidate you for it, or if I have to respond to your violence with force, I am. But there's no more cowering in the counters. We are not our great-great-grandparents. Remember that. That's not undermining anything they did. But it is saying that
Right.
we will, and our great-grandparents were spectacular people. People thought they were cowering in the corner because they were scared. No, they were sheltering their children with their bodies. See, it takes a special amount of courage to do that. I, for the one, don't have it. I'm coming out the door shooting. Okay, so just remember that. If you don't like anything I say on the podcast, before you even think about it, remember that. So once we get back instilled, and that's it.
So,
In this day
I
and
mean-
age, it's not violence anymore. It's self-defense.
That
Because
is
we
true.
have gotten to the point. Well, look at this. We have talking about legislation. We can go back and talk about the civil rights movement. And it had its moment, and it was great, and it did get a lot accomplished. But Marcus said there can be no revolution. There's no such thing as a revolution without bloodshed. And we're just tired of the revolution being at the expense of our own blood being shed. Because obviously, the passive resistance hasn't gotten us any further in the last 70 years than
That's true.
this racial profiling. Then, did you see the Charlottesville? Those were not old guys.
No.
Those were people half my
Well,
age.
look, the one dude's going to Auburn. He's like, what, 21, 22?
Yeah.
I mean, he's less than half your age.
Yeah.
I mean,
That's-
so, you know,
And
you
so
are
it's
right.
not, it's not like they died out because we waited them out. Oh, no.
What
Tiki
is,
toys.
well, let me ask you a question. I was thinking about this earlier. And this is a question for both of y'all. Is there, because I keep hearing them people say our streets, blood, or I can't remember what the hell they said because,
Blood and soil?
yeah, you know, but we won't be erased.
Yeah.
You know how they kept saying erased?
Yeah.
Well, I'm wondering if they don't have guilt issues from their ancestors committing all these heinous acts. Like they're afraid that the African Americans, the Hispanics, these other cultures are now standing up and fighting. And now they're fighting back against the oppressor.
Yeah, when I first
You-
saw March, I was like, what were they mad about? I mean, what they mad about?
And
When
that's
was the
why,
last time you heard of a white man being discriminated against? They own the glass ceiling. They own the company that owns the glass ceiling.
thank you.
It's like every one of them out there could have no trouble getting a job.
Yeah,
And you know, yeah, there's gonna be some situational unemployment.
yeah.
But the unemployment differences are vastly or different. It was a Procter and Gamble commercial. I don't know if you all saw it, and you would have to see it. It's probably a Procter and Gamble commercial, and people were criticizing them for the message. They had African American families in there, and they were talking about beauty and if you get pulled over by the cops, what to do and all that. People were outraged about that, and I was like, why?
Yeah.
My mother told me a long time ago that I had to be twice as good to get half as much in this country.
And I was, yeah, that's not right.
And I know what you're about to say. You don't agree with it.
No, I wasn't about to say that.
Yeah.
No, I was not even going there.
But it is not.
But, you know-
we're not even fighting
But you are
for
right.
equality. We're fighting for an equal playing field. See, people don't
Yeah,
understand.
no, you're right. I agree with you.
We're not equal.
If you would have asked me
Yeah.
2 years ago, 3 years ago, I'd have been like, yeah, whatever, you know. But the truth is, in the last year and a half, 2 years, I've seen the difference. You know, and it's really amazing that I have several friends that used to be like they used to hate everybody, you know, and they flip, and some of them are the best allies. I had a friend the other day say, well, you know, there's no hope for this world, you know, because he keeps fighting. Like, he used to be really angry, and he started fighting, and he doesn't see the change.
Yeah.
And, you know, I think what it is, I think for me personally, and I'm having shell shock with all this, the cultural realization that you have a Biloxi PD officer that profiles, you know, because they go in areas, you know, that they, I mean,
It must be nice to be shocked by this.
well, I don't mean like that. No, don't.
So-
It's not like that.
I know.
But I'm just, yeah. I mean,
So since we're on the racial profiling topic, I want to also know that it's not just police officers who do it, but people in our school system, like
Yeah.
our educators, teachers who don't know. So I'm going to talk to you about an incident, a situation also here on the coast. A young junior high student in the Biloxi school system, okay, goes to school, was asked by the teacher in front of her classroom if her English was good.
what?
The student was in her desk doing her work, or maybe I believe she was already done doing her work, and she was sitting there. Prompted the teacher. The teacher said she had a blank look on her face, so I asked her that question. And the mother's response to the teacher in this meeting was, "Would you have asked her that question if she was white or black?" And the teacher did not have a response.
But you're right.
Absolutely right. So we also need
Yeah, it is what we do.
to teach cultural sensitivity within our school system so that they know. Because what if that student wasn't a documented student? Not just that, her body was actually being violated to disclose information that was personal to herself,
Yeah.
and to disclose a possible learning disability.
Yeah.
But
You know?
you say cultural sensitivity, another class, and I don't. It must be nice to be able to have. We need a cultural sensitivity class. But as a teacher, as an educator, when did you think that was a good tool or a good method to try to solve or address that problem in open class like that?
Right.
So you say sensitivity training, but I'm like, training period. That should
You
be
know what?
unacceptable in and of itself.
Absolutely.
I'm gonna make this easy. I know it's not realistic, but I know it's easy. People need common sense. It should have been common sense for that teacher not to ask that question.
Where was this at, Elizabeth? Hold on, let me ask you this. I'm sorry.
No.
Elizabeth says a certain school here made Hispanic children change their name to an American name if they wanted to. And
What?
how?
Where-
Okay, so my daughter Sarai, my daughter's name is Sarai.
Yeah.
Okay, so she's a victim of this as well. So, which means Sarah, but because it's difficult for the teacher or whoever it is in the school to pronounce the name Sarai, they'll call her Sarah, and that's how the school calls my child.
Yeah,
They'll
that's
call
how we wound up with the N word the way it is, because
Thank
Europeans
you.
can pronounce the Spanish version correctly.
So they forced people to change their names so that they could actually not learn something. Because instead of taking a little bit of effort and learning somebody's name properly, they said, "Oh, we're forcing you to change your name."
And that's privilege. That we have to.
I mean, did anybody
abide
ever play with
by
this?
every-
Has anybody contacted the ACLU on this? Or, I mean, Mississippi Center for Justice?
There is some things going on with this specific case, and I'm going to say it again. If you or anybody that you know has been a target of racial profiling, discrimination within the school system, right here on the Gulf Coast, please contact me again. Again, my phone number is 228-679-9173, or the office mirror number is 228-386-5164, extension 4.
I will say, and going back to that,
And I will print that number out. I will type it out and put it on there live later.
and we'll put the office number on the Facebook page
Yes.
Yeah.
so that it's on there. because we want people to be able to get help they have. And I do know of another story locally that, a African American student was expelled. I can't relay with details. I haven't done anything about it yet. I've been thinking about it. I've talked with T. Nathan about it. But basically, I was doing something. They were doing something. I kind of moved something to the side. They just kind of moved something to the side. The teacher had an issue with the African American student, and they didn't have an issue with me. So, and they ended up, the teacher said, kept them after, and all of a sudden, everybody left class. She kept them after class, and the next day, she made an accusation that they made a threatening movement towards them. Even though the witness that was in the room said that that student did not do nothing. So, but she had the cop sitting there waiting for him to come back the next day. And I just gendered him. And I won't reveal names, I won't reveal, but that was at a local school that I still haven't talked to the people higher up because I don't know exactly.
Well, I'm gonna say this: contact me if anything's happened. And I'm going to reveal names and places and times. I respect Petra's decision, but this is what the problem is. See, we are not addressing these issues directly. We are talking about them, and we know there are issues, but we don't know who is perpetrating these frauds or perpetrating these issues. So in the future, if you have a problem divulging something, contact me. I have no problem, and I will take it to wherever it needs to go, because we need to hold these people accountable. See, a lot of things are happening because they get away with it one time. Okay, they get some rumblings, but they're not being held accountable for their actions. So if they don't have a reason to stop, they're never going to stop because they already shown, like you said, the sensitivity. I'm sorry, it's like we talk about retraining cops to interact with people of color differently or respectfully as they introduce. Why is that the thing? We're humans. If you've been trained to deal with situations, deal with that situation as the situation arises and occurs with your training. Your training shouldn't have to be specific to. You shouldn't have to talk. You shouldn't have to be taught to think of us the same way you do someone that looks.
I agree with that.
You signed on, and then we're not dealing with people who came here from another planet. These people have grown up in this culture. We have been a part of this culture as people of color since 1619, as in my people, and ex-Mexican people, Melinda's people were here before we got here even. So it's not like it's something.
I'm glad you all remember the dates because I don't have a clue.
Yeah,
I'm the last person with hair.
Trust me, I remember that date. I can tell you where, because these are significant dates in our history. And and that's what it is. That's what you have to realize, that sometimes when you don't have to think of something, that's because it's not significant to you. But there are dates, I'm sure, that I can tell you, because they're significant to us as a people. And the history posts I do every day, and people, they call them racist. It's not. It's just to point out.
They call them racist?
Oh yeah, they say my posts are racist because I don't talk about. But I talk about American history. See, I don't have to tell you about George Washington and all the other 44 men that held the presidency. Y'all know that. But it was a massacre I talked about that happened in Arkansas. But these are things you're not taught. And they affect us as a country, not just as people of color, but how you treat us affects your state also.
So I want to bring up a different issue. And it still relates to race, and it's not going to be every week's not going to be about race. Every week's not going to be. It's going to be about different things. But today, with the current political climate and it is the number one issue in America at the moment. Let's just face it. Let's be honest with ourselves. It is the number one issue in America. I have several issues. I want to bring up the Confederate flag real quick.
Elephant in the room.
Yeah, because it's going to come up. I want to kind of sidetrack here. How do you feel about the Confederate flag, Melinda, with the way, because I'm noticing I keep seeing news about the Confederate flag, but I feel like it's almost overrunning the immigration issue. I feel like it's almost, you know what I'm saying?
So I believe it's also like the media, right? We're being distracted from certain things, so other things can happen. Just like we know that Trump was in Arizona giving a speech and was talking about the wall and things like that, So, but I want to tell you that how I feel about the Confederate flag, because being somebody from the state of Texas, which is also a red state, red state is nations and colonies, right? The very first year I lived in Mississippi, I registered myself for school, and I seen that the state flag, the Confederate emblem in it. I didn't understand what the hell I was doing with the flag. Like seriously, I didn't understand. I was like, why would anybody put a symbol of hate? Because I was taught that that resembles hate, it resembles treason against the U.S. At the time was the Union, right? So it's like,
True.
And how can you even fly both the U.S. flag and the Confederate flag next to each other, right? Like my dad, he served in the military, and that's just, the other day we were talking because we went to the rally in Hattiesburg. We went to the protest, right, at the U.S.
Appreciate you, Sean.
Oh, absolutely. And he quoted something from the Uniform Code of Conduct, the military.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, and he quoted this section. And I don't want to say what section it was because I'm pretty sure I'll get it wrong. And but it said that during the service, while you're serving, you're not allowed to wave any other flag, right?
Besides the American flag.
Besides the American flag, your flag. So I didn't understand why we had servicemen on the other side kind of protesting, holding a Confederate flag.
That is true. My cousin is a Marine, and we bat on heads because, and I don't understand his aspect because he's Filipino. His mother's Filipino. They married my Uncle Ross, who's white Caucasian, and I remember the trouble that his mother went through to become a citizen of the United States. And for him to support 45, I find it just disgusting. As a Marine defending this country, it's supposed to defend all citizens. I'm going to keep my comment to last because I have a lot more to go in depth. I apologize.
No, that's okay. So my opinion about the Confederate flag is the same as everyone, as I would assume the majority of most people. Right? I obviously not. Is right? It's a fact that it's a symbol of hate. I don't like it in our state flag. I've been a resident now for 11 years in the state of Mississippi.
Let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
Do you think it should be voted on, or do you think it should just be done with?
I think it should just be done with. I don't think it should be voted on anymore. I think that I don't know. I forgot what representative or senator stated in the legislature that said if we were to put to bring slavery back on the ballot, that people would vote for slavery.
That is true. You're right.
So then why would we vote for
that is true.
Same thing?
You can't vote for human rights. And I've had a disagreement lately with somebody, so I'll leave that to last. But
yeah, so yeah, and also I'm just getting back on the DACA. So there's supposed to be something going on here in September for them. So I believe there's supposed to be a vote, or because they're talking about bringing in another program that's not DACA, but
so they're talking about getting rid of DACA?
They are talking about getting rid of DACA. That was President 45's. At first he said no, then he said yes, and then so we don't know where in limbo, right? So please contact your legislators, not your legislators, your congressman, right? Senator Wicker, right? Steve Palazzo, and we have Pat Cofford, and we have dreamers in the state of Mississippi who are still fighting for in-state tuition, okay? Because even though they came to the state of Mississippi at the age of 3 years old, came into our school system, graduated, they still are not eligible for in-state tuition like a regular resident would be.
Let me ask you a couple questions.
And we need these, we need something for DACA. We can't have
what's it cost to go through the immigration process on average? Because obviously they're not all the same.
$10,000 to $15,000.
$10,000 to $15,000. Okay.
And some cases they're able to be like done within 6 months to a year.
Okay.
Others 2 years. Others even longer. It just depends. And then not only that, you're not guaranteed to stay. You have to go back to your country of origin eventually, and have meet with embassy out there, right? So that you can go through the process. Legal entry into the US.
If you were to redo the immigration right now. What would your perfect immigration be? How would you reform it? Because I keep hearing that it needs to be reformed. It needs to be this and that. I love the DACA program. I agree with it because I think it gives people because they didn't cross the border. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So it gives them a place out. But I want to know from your perspective what a perfect, not necessarily perfect, but what would a reformed immigration system be?
I'm gonna say it. It's live, and I said it over the before, but open borders. That is my answer. Is do away with the system. Open border migration has been happening since the beginning of time, and I believe that people migrate to be able to survive. That's what migration is about. That's what it's
It's
about.
true. They have it in Europe.
So
Yeah, and they're about to close their borders more so because of the terrorist activity. I mean, that's Europe, and it's a whole different homogeneous society. What about this? And I hear you. But what about this? What about this saying that the constitutional outline of state of citizenship just stands? Maybe we should do. I'll advocate a blanket amnesty for all the dreamers, all the children that were born here. Blanket amnesty, and deal with going forward. I don't care how many it is. I think one of the fear in our system is people of color are going to be the majority by 2020 anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And I think one of the fear is that you can hold this tide back of change. And the Constitution outlines citizenship. It's like you're either born to American parents, you are born on soil, or you immigrate and you go through the naturalization process. If we just stuck to that, this problem would also be solved. I mean, open borders. I think that's going to take a better set of people than we have in office now. But if you just enforce the Constitution, there's a path for citizenship already in the Constitution. That's what I was listening to people. I said there are paths already. You are born to American parents, you are born on American soil, or you go through the naturalization system. And what gets me is how many immigrants we will allow in from foreign countries, like across the Atlantic or the Pacific. But our border is right here, and all of a sudden there's a quota or there's a limit on the people that were here already before we got here.
right.
And you made a comment about the Constitution and the my mind just went blank. Naturalization process.
Right.
So is it already set in the Constitution how it is?
Yeah.
Or because I'm not like I said, I'm not familiar.
Naturalization is the process you go through to become a citizen. Those are the
But so that process is already set in the Constitution.
The process is already set in the Constitution as an applied power because they come up with the testing and all that. Some of it has been changed because of the English requirements and things like that. But there's stages you go through for naturalization, and they're outlined basically by the Constitution. We have just gotten to the fact where we're just tacking so much implied stuff onto the naturalization process that it is getting bogged down. The Dreamers program and all that. The Dreamers, it shouldn't be a Dreamers program because of the fact that you were born on American soil.
No, they weren't born on that.
No, I mean talking about the children. No, the children of I guess I'm referring back to the case you were talking about.
Oh, okay.
About those children. Those are American citizens. By virtue of that, it takes parents to raise children.
Absolutely right.
So by virtue of you having 5 American citizens here, then their parents should be. I'm sorry, I'm just going to say it like that. There should be no problem. Your children are. If you don't do that, then you're going to say, "What the state wants to be responsible for raising your children?" All of a sudden, when you're doing a good job on your own, you just make a citizen out of it.
Well, what about the newborn baby that was just born in Mexico? The parents went to Mexico, had the newborn baby, and Mexico was one baby until they paid the hospital bill. Is that baby a Mexican citizen or American citizen? Because they're born technically on. The baby is technically born in Mexico.
But are they American citizens?
They were American citizens.
Then that baby is not a Mexican child. It's not that baby doesn't have Mexican citizenship. That's called kidnapping. If the government is holding a baby ransom for
Playing devil's
ransom for
advocate here, if you have a Hispanic family coming across that has a baby in American soil,
Mhm.
the baby's considered American.
But see, this is the situation. Isn't what the citizenship of the baby isn't.
I'm just trying to play questions that people would ask.
Yeah.
The citizens of the baby isn't in question. The hospital should not be allowed to hold a human life hostage for a bill. That's the issue that I have a point with. The other issue pales in comparison to that issue alone. That we're not going to release your child until you pay a bill.
Right.
No, that's not. I don't even know where we get the idea that that's even
I don't either. I mean, I don't.
remotely
But-
illogical or humane.
I don't agree with them holding a child, but a lot of people brought up the question of citizenship. Is the child a
It
Mexican
doesn't matter.
citizen or is it an American citizen?
Is it
You know, 'cause-
legal? Is it legal for Mexicans to hold each other hostage for ransom?
no.
Well, then,
But we're not talking about that. We're talking about citizenship.
No, you're talking about citizenship, but citizenship isn't the issue. If you go to a hospital,
Well, you're right.
and you
The
can't
issue
pay a
at hand
bill,
is they are keeping a child
they're
for a
taking
bill.
a child for a bill.
They're doing
That's
human
a
trafficking.
big, that's a bigger issue than just
That is
immigration
true.
right there.
They are doing
That's-
human trafficking.
If we start
That's
down that road, saying, "Oh well, your baby's here and you can't pay the bill," but we're just going to keep the baby until you pay the bill. No.
Well, I think the issue that came in from the hospital's perspective, from what I read, is that they went down there to get free medical.
Oh.
I think that's what happened here. Is they went because she knew she's pregnant. She knew she was about to give birth. She went to Mexico when she was what? You give birth at 9 weeks?
No, and I'm on.
9 months. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
38, 40.
I'm sorry. My mind is. So she went there at 9 months.
baby.
She went there at 9 months. Okay,
We're
pregnant.
about to die.
She knew that she was about to give birth.
Right.
They went down there, I believe, for free medical.
Okay.
Okay, so the issue is because Mexico has national medical.
Okay.
Okay, so she got free medical, but the problem is they weren't citizens, and the hospital charged, and they didn't have money.
That's a civil issue.
By our laws or by Mexico's laws?
I don't care whose law it is. In Mexican law, they have civil law. That's a civil issue. It's still kidnapping. You can't hold a child ransom. That's kidnapping.
Okay,
And you know,
I understand what you're
yeah,
saying.
this is one of those issues where we're trying to apply and talk about hypotheticals, but I can't get the hypotheticals because you can't hold a baby for ransom. Period. Nowhere in the world can you do that, and it be thought of as humane.
That is true.
So you know,
That is true. That is a
I
great
check
point.
out at that point because I don't hear anything else you're saying except they have a baby has.
Okay,
Right.
we need
To wrap up.
No, I want him to speak real quick on the Confederate flag. I'm going to put my
Yeah,
statement.
you know.
It's going to take 3 minutes, minute and a half apiece.
3 minutes. She gonna give me a minute and a half to talk about the Confederate flag.
Yes, because we all know that he can ramble on. Okay. Okay, so go.
Okay, go. My feelings about the Traitors flag that is representative of the Confederacy. Did you get it in Traitors? That it's not about. It is about heritage. I actually agree with those saying heritage. It's a heritage of hate. It's a heritage of resentment. It's a heritage of enslavement, oppression. And as long as we have that reminder on our Mississippi state flag, it's a heritage that you won't let us do anything but commemorate and not forget. And I don't understand they say about it's erasing history. You know, there's no monuments to Hitler in Germany, and he's just as prevalent in history as he always was, right? I have never been to a country where the losers of a battle are so commemorated as they are in the South. We're talking about, your relatives were a bunch of traitors. They traitors to the United States. And we have monuments to those traitors.
Mm-hmm.
And you revel those traitors like they won. They didn't. And it's divisive. It's something that should be taken down, and it's something that should have been taken down years ago. And monuments too. Beauvoir's private property, so Beauvoir does what he wants to. But even that, why do we patronize it? But the Confederate battle flag, the emblem that is on the Mississippi state flag, needs to change. It needs to come down because it's a slap in the face to all of us, not just people of color, but around the world. When you go around the world and people say, "Hey, why are you the only state that does this? Why is this?" Can you imagine Nazi Germany? Can you imagine Germany having the swastika on their flag? You don't see it anywhere in Germany. As a matter of fact, it's constitutionally disallowed.
Mm-hmm.
So why are we celebrating traitors in this country? So that's my minute and a half.
I am going to come from this from a personal aspect. Initially, I did not have an issue with the Confederate flag, but as I watched, I understood the hate behind it. As a third generation German, my great grandfather came over here from Germany. Both sides came from Germany. My family is Nazism. My heritage is Nazism. I do not support Nazism. I watched the parade the other day. I did not see one person out there that Hitler would not have slaughtered. All dumb wannabe Nazis would have been hung, they would have been gassed, they would have been shot. Hitler would have never stood for you. So do not fool yourselves into believing that you are a Nazi. First off, you are trying to join a gang and to justify your actions. That is unacceptable. I denounce the KKK. I denounce Nazis. I denounce any hate organization, period, across the board. To me, it is extremely disrespectful as a person with a German heritage that these people feel the right that they can fly the swastika. My grandfather fought in World War II against the Nazis as a German, full-blood German. He fought the Nazis. Being part of the Nazi, being a Nazi is not something to be proud of. Being a KKK member is not something to be proud of. I know previous KKK members, and they will tell you that all the KKK is about is that the people within the organization are angry at themselves. They are mad at the world because they cannot do any better than they are, because they are their own failure that is blaming everybody else. This is coming from people that were in the KKK and were in the Nazi. You know, I have a friend that still had the hood. He pulled the hood out when I did a podcast. I did a podcast with him, and he actually pulled the hood out. He goes, the reason people join the KKK is because they're mad at the world that they are not doing better than they can. They don't realize that it's not the world's fault that they're where they are.
How did that podcast go, by the way, when you pulled out the KKK back?
Dumbass. Okay, dumbass.
Y'all know
So,
how to me, right?
I
This will be evidence in a criminal case.
I am more politically correct in this instance than he is. Normally, he's going to hold me down. I've been holding him down. But the truth of the matter is that I find it extremely distasteful. It is extremely illegal in Germany to fly that swastika flag or anything to do with Nazism. They are not proud of it. They will absolutely denounce it. I would like to see one of them Nazis that were out there the other day go to Germany and do exactly what they did. Because
No, I wouldn't.
Because the mentality, the culture over there does not play. They are not as nice as we are with that particular situation.
Yeah, but and I understand that, but there's still neo-Nazi fascism and factions in Germany.
There are. And then they're underground hidden.
Yeah, they're underground. So that's why
I watched a documentary on it.
Yeah.
They're extremely underground.
Right.
So the thing is, if they were to do it out in public, like I suggested,
they would go to jail for one for having a swastika.
yeah.
That'd be 3 years in prison right there.
Germany had a building built that there was a swastika on it. Somehow it was put on there. They realized it. They tore the building down. So that is what Germany feels about their heritage. That is what I feel about German heritage. Don't be proud of your heritage. Heritage is hate. So, bottom line is
Take it down, Mississippi.
Take it down, Mississippi.
and take it down Mississippi.
And don't even put it in a museum. Burn it.
Yeah.
Burn it. And unless we have a hate museum somewhere, y'all can have it, but burn it. Okay? Trust me, the past is still going to be there. We're not going to erase it one bit.
We appreciate it. We'll see you in a couple weeks.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you. I'm going to post her number, so y'all can call and let Belinda know anything that's going on.
Volunteers, we need
You
volunteers.
need volunteers.
Yes, we need volunteers.
And I donated my birthday, so it's still running for 2 weeks.
Yeah,
I
I
donated
got
to
a donation.
I will post the event for the next time. It is in 2 weeks from today.
We are the future, and if we don't do something, then nothing is going to get done. We have to stop kicking.
Bye, everyone.
We have to stop kicking this can.